listening to Republic Broadcasting Network, because you can handle the truth.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero, because World War III is a really bad idea. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome to our show today. It is Monday, July 13th, 2020, start of a brand new week of craziness. And we're going to be getting right into that in a little bit. As usual, I'm going to do news until I run out of news, and then we'll open the phone lines and let you call in with your comments, questions, observations, and opinions. Quick little program note for the rest of the week here. Today, obviously, we're live. Tuesday and Wednesday will be live. Claire and I have to travel from Wednesday through the following Monday, but RBN is already lining up some guest hosts to take over the microphone for the Thursday, Friday, and Monday shows, so you won't be listening to replays. So just wanted to give you the heads up on that. We have to fly back to the East Coast for some meetings, and we're going to take the opportunity to see some family we haven't seen in about, 10 years, in some cases 15 years, and so it's going to be a mixture of business and pleasure. So anyway, that's what we're looking forward to this week here. All righty. Big story coming out of San Diego. The Bonhomme Richard, which is the third U.S. Navy ship to have that name, is on fire. There was apparently some kind of an explosion during what they call routine maintenance at the San Diego Naval Base. And my guess is somebody got careless with a welding torch. Unfortunately, the ship is loaded with fuel and ammunition, and the firefighters are battling the blaze. Part of the problem is it's painted with oil-based paint, which tends to burn very readily. And so apparently 57 people have been injured. 21 have had to go to the hospital, and they're saying that this is going to burn for several more days. The Bonhomme Richard is named after John Paul Jones' first ship, and the name Bonhomme Richard was sort of a coded message to Ben Franklin, who at that time was the ambassador from the United States, or what would be the United States, to France, and had gotten famous writing a periodical called Poor Richard's Almanac. So Bonhomme Richard is French for good man Richard. A little bit of history there. Okay, Chicago suffers another weekend of violence, including a rush hour shooting on the major highway. You know, if I lived in Chicago, and let's be honest, I wouldn't, I would kind of want my city's image to be a little bit better than this. This is, Chicago today is like how Dodge City was back in the 1800s. Oh, don't go to there. They're shooting each other. They're killing. Although the violence today puts everything that happened in the wild, wild West, the amateur status. It really is. You know why the gunfight at the OK Corral became so famous? Because it was so rare. That kind of stuff didn't happen, despite what you read in books and the dime novels and see in the movies and everything. But today you can have equivalent shootings. I think it was something like, 10 people got killed, 15 maybe. And it's like it gets a little bit of news, but that's it. Nobody's going to do a movie about the Chicago violence. It doesn't sell anymore. All righty. Apparently, Democratic Governor Walz is very upset that Trump rejected a $500 million bailout ask. So apparently, this was supposed to pay for the damage caused by the weeks-long violent rioting in Minneapolis in the wake of the death of George Floyd. Well, Governor, it's your state, and you're supposed to be taking care of it. And if anybody's responsible for the rioting in Minneapolis, it's the mayor of Minneapolis. It's you and everybody else who basically stood back and let it happen. Now, Trump has put his foot down and declared there will be an automatic 10-year in prison for even trying to vandalize a federal monument. Just getting up there with a can of spray paint before you can even push that button, they're going to grab you and they're going to put you in jail. And so far, at least here in the United States, since Trump put that into effect, it doesn't appear that there have been any attempts to vandalize any more federal monuments here. Now, this story I really like. And there's a guy named Daniels. He's a veteran. And he is fed up with all these people who are burning the American flag. And I have to agree with that. I have issues with the government. There's no question. Everybody knows that. The government and I don't see eye to eye. We don't send each other Christmas cards. That's just the way it is. But I love the United States and I love its people. And I like the flag. I want the flag up there and I don't want it to burn. So this guy has started a company called Firebrand Flags. This is an unsolicited plug. And he's making American flags out of Kevlar and Nomex, which are not going to burn at the temperatures of the accelerants and Bic lighters and matches that the protesters have. And an American flag made out of Kevlar and Nomex goes for $129, which sounds like a lot for a flag until you realize it can't be burnt. Nobody can set fire to it. The kind of heat it takes to melt Kevlar and Nomex makes it virtually impossible to do in the street. You've literally got to put it in a kiln. And they're already back ordered. You want to order one of these flags, you have to get on a list. That's how people are responding to this. And I think that's a really, really good idea. Because that's our flag. And I understand that burning it is considered an expression of opinion protected by freedom of speech. But my putting up a flag that can't be set fire to is my expression and protected by freedom of speech. So there, deal with it. Now, apparently, this cancel culture is starting to meet its match. They've been tearing down statues, shaming companies to change brand icons, and the vilification of anyone who refuses to give in to being politically correct. But apparently, there was a demonstration against the cancel culture starting to take root in the progressive cities. People are pushing back, right? And the progressives only own backyards, which I'm rather happy to see. I think it's people finally waking up and realizing what's being done to this country. All righty. 150 prominent intellectuals and Ivy League academics of leftist persuasion have signed a letter in Harper's protesting the breakdown in civilized debate and imposition of ideological conformity. And the signatories made the obligatory vow to denouncing Trump as a threat to democracy and called for greater equality and inclusion across society. But apparently they're under attack for the following quote, which seems to be true. And they're talking about this woke revolution and how it is breaking down our civilized debate. Quote, the free exchange of information and ideas, the lifeblood of a liberal society, is daily becoming more constricted. While we have come to expect this on the radical right, censoriousness is also spreading more widely in our culture. An intolerance of opposing views, a vogue for public shaming and ostracism, and the tendency to dissolve complex policy issues in a blinding moral certainty. We uphold the value of robust and even caustic counter speech from all quarters. There's more to it, but basically, even within the woke society, they're starting to say, this has gone too far. All of this censorship agreement, all of this censorship and this political correctness, it's stifling dialogue. And dialogue is the basis of, going into the future. You have a thesis. That's your suggestion. You have an antithesis, out of which you get synthesis, a new idea, something that maybe nobody thought of before. By taking these two opposing views and putting them together and say, they're not going to work. Well, maybe there's a third way. Ding, the light bulb comes on. People say, let's look at that. That's how you move into the future. This cancel culture, this political correctness is fossilizing the American civilization to what it is right now. In fact, we're falling behind other countries. We're still stuck in the 1990s in a lot of ways in this country. Now, this one is kind of a little bit weird. Over in the harbor at Copenhagen, or Copenhagen, depending upon where you come from, there's a statue to the Little Mermaid. Now, Hans Christian Andersen wrote The Little Mermaid back in 1837. The statue was put up approximately a century ago, and somebody has vandalized it. They wrote racist on it. And it's amazing. I mean, this is a fairy tale. This is a fairy tale. This is not real world. You know, but apparently they were angry that the Little Mermaid is always portrayed as white, except wrong again. There's a live action remake starring Halle Berry as the Little Mermaid coming out in the near future. So once again, the vandalization was pointless. Vandalizing the Little Mermaid because she's white. Well, not the next one. Rudy Giuliani is out there saying that Black Lives Matter will be proven a terrorist organization. I agree. I would like to see that happen. All righty. Now, a couple of things that happened this last week that we need to pay attention to. We're seeing the U.S. police forces, you know, being called to shut down or defund or somehow limit themselves. And the rational thing that you would think of is, as the police stop protecting our society and our homes and our personnel, that we, the American people, have to take responsibility for our own safety and security. Would make sense to me, except gun owners who are defending themselves are coming under attack. And we had the situation with Mark and Patricia McCloskey, who were about to sit down for dinner at their home in St. Louis, when members of Black Lives Matter smashed through their front gate and began marching through their private property. Now, the McCloskeys remembered the violent protests that rocked their city just weeks before, and they believed their lives were in danger. So they appeared at the front of their home with an AR-15 and a handgun. Mrs. McCloskey pointed her handgun at the trespassers and warned them to stay away. No shots were fired. The protesters moved on. What did the local government do? They came after the McCloskeys. They confiscated Mr. McCloskey's AR-15, which he legally owned. They want the handgun, but at the moment, the handgun is in the possession of the McCloskey's lawyer. Okay, well, what did the McCloskeys do wrong? As far as I can tell, they didn't do anything wrong at all. The whole point of the Second Amendment, besides deterring government tyranny, is to guarantee to every American citizen the right to protect themselves in their home when the police are not there to do it. And the police are not there to do it. They're down there standing guard over the Black Lives Matter protests. They're out there arresting people who are trying to paint over the Black Lives Matter murals. That's where the police are right now. There's another case here, and I hope I don't butcher the names here. Apparently, a gentleman named Ismael Casillas followed Kwan Trezes Humphreys into his yard with a gun, and he got arrested for it. What happened was he found the guy in his 14-year-old daughter's bedroom. And I think escorting him out with a gun was probably the best thing that he could possibly do. But he's the one who's in trouble. There is really something decidedly wrong with this. We should be applauding people who are able to defend their homes and willing to defend their homes. They're willing to do the job the police won't do. I remember years and years ago, I had this wonderful Bearcat scanner, and it was before the LAPD went to encrypted radios, which the encryption isn't that hard to break on them anyway, but I digress. And I lived in North Hollywood, which was turning into a really, really bad neighborhood. In fact, we had a shotgun killing in an argument over a parking space in the apartment complex where I lived. So anyway, I love listening on that Bearcat scanner, especially to the girl who was running a phone sex business out of her apartment. But other times I would tune into the police bands. And I remember this one time where the shots were being fired at a nearby building, and I could hear the gunfire. And the police showed up, and I listened to them on the radio, and they were talking about, do you think he's gone yet? Is it safe for us to go in? Now, remember, there is actually no legal requirement for the police to intervene to protect you from a violent criminal. There was a famous case that came out of Georgetown. About 3 women were sharing an apartment, and the apartment was broken into. One girl was on the first floor, and she was grabbed by the perpetrators and raped, sexually abused. And the two other women were hiding upstairs, and they called the police and said, we've got, people inside our home. They're raping our roommate. And they were told over and over again, yeah, we'll get somebody over there. We'll get somebody over there. We'll get somebody over there. Well, after a while, things got quiet. The two girls figured the cops had shown up and scared off the bad guys. So they came downstairs only to find the bad guys were still there. And they got raped and abused all night long. Well, they sued the Washington, D.C. police for failing to protect them, and they lost. When the judge said, there is no law that says the police have to protect you. And there's a harsh reality people ought to be listening to, especially when you consider this offer from Frontsight Firearms Academy. When the crime is actually happening, there's only two parties there, the perpetrators and the victims. The cops never show up in time to thwart a crime in progress. They show up after it's all over, and they clean up the mess, and they post for newspaper photos and try and pretend they're relevant. Now, with a reality like that, I think we ought to be applauding people who protect their own homes. I really do. Protect their life and liberty. Don't go out and try and shoot them outside. That's a bad thing. But as long as you're in your home is your castle, and you have every right to defend it. Now, there's another story here, and this sort of straddles the line here, because there was this 88-year-old woman who shot an alleged shoplifter at the store. She was the liquor store owner, and this guy was shoplifting from her store, and she was charged with aggravated assault. She's lost her gun for 2 years. Now, I think probably in that case, it would have been smarter to simply brandish the gun and chase the guy off, or fire a warning shot to prove you mean business. Even better is a laser sight, because nothing lets somebody know that they're being thought about faster than that red dot between the eyebrows. Okay, now everybody's wondering, why did it take so long for the FBI police to catch up with Ghislaine Maxwell, the pimp? And apparently for the last year, she's been traveling all over the United States, just having a good old time. We're going to Disneyland. And apparently the reason she was able to do that is she was wearing a COVID mask, so nobody could recognize her. Amazing here. And they're claiming the feds knew where she was the entire time, but apparently that is not true. They found her little mansion, and they found her there. She certainly wasn't expecting to be arrested that day, but apparently the story is coming out. She was, she had money. She was just traveling all over under an assumed identity and just having a lot of fun here. Amazing. Just amazing. Okay. So I just got an email saying, what about Snow White? Is she racist? Probably they think so. All righty, let's talk about COVID-19. It's still out there in the news, and they're still arguing about, hydroxychloroquine and various other medications. And are we going to have to halt the reopenings? Are we going to have to re-engage the lockdowns? They've mucked this up so bad. They really, really have. So apparently 2 months after infection, COVID-19 systems persist. Almost 90% of people who come down with COVID-19 still have one symptom long after the virus itself is gone. And don't forget, there was that story a while back where the virus can reinfect people who've already had it. So I don't know why they're pushing this herd immunity, because it doesn't look like having COVID-19 grants any kind of immunity. And in fact, immunity may be a bit of a problem, because there's a study that came out saying the COVID-19 infection rate may be 440% higher among children who received the flu shot. And finally, the military's COVID-19 cases are growing at twice the nationwide rate, probably all that crowding into barracks and so forth and so on. We got to take a break for commercials, and we'll be back after these few words.
Here at Republic Broadcasting Network, we have been building our online store. Well, we have been focusing on bringing you the best talk show host in the country. Here at Republic Broadcasting Network, we also want our listeners to have products they can use every day and in times of emergency. We have added new products each week to our store. Your support of this network, plus products at the best prices, is a win-win situation. Check out our new store. Go to our website, republicbroadcasting.org, and click on the online store located at the top of our website. Together, we can continue to grow RBN and help our listeners prepare for the future. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and click on our online store or call us.
800-724-2719, extension 3. 800-724-2719, extension 3.
As a listener of RBN, you're surely concerned about being informed and being ready for whatever may come. Please consider the following questionnaire as a soul-jarring wake-up call. If you answer no to more than 2 of these following questions, you probably aren't going to make it through any major disruption in our country. The questions were compiled by people that have been there. Are you really ready? Do you own your own firearm for the primary defense and protection of you and your loved ones? Have you ever been professionally trained to stand against life-threatening behavior? Have you ever practiced enough to fire 500 rounds during a 2 to 4 day time frame, day and night? Can you load, unload, fire, and clear a jam in total darkness? Have all the adults in your household been professionally trained? Are you, life and death, comfortable with your abilities with pistol, revolver, shotgun, and rifle? Are you aware that everything that you do to prepare for an emergency is a waste of time, money, and energy? If you haven't honed your abilities to their highest level to protect and keep what you have, do you have the repair parts that will most likely be needed for each of your firearm, and do you have the ability to install those parts? Could you completely clean every firearm you own? Are you aware that your body won't go where your mind hasn't been? In other words, without proper training, followed by regular practice, you probably will not win a gunfight. Well, how did you measure up? Take the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to start correcting your deficiencies by receiving your Commander Lifetime Membership with Front Sight Firearms Training Facility. A one-time donation to RBN for $500 will give you a Commander Lifetime Membership at Front Sight as a tremendously huge thank you bonus. See details on RBN's webpage to make it happen. The clock is ticking. You had better be ready before it happens.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. We're talking about COVID-19. We're talking about the media here. And no matter what your view is on the coronavirus issue, most people seem to understand the media is exaggerating the situation. They're making it out to be far more dire than it is. And the media outlets are spending 24 hours a day, 7 days a week of live coverage, looking for anything possible to undermine the Trump administration. There's another factor as well, and it's called let's out-sensationalize our competition. And so in a very real way, our corporate media has given up gravitas and dignity and gone down the path of basically broadcast tabloids. Everybody's out there about John Travolta's girlfriend dying of breast cancer. And a tragedy, I don't want to trivialize that, but people are dying of cancer all over this country. Why this one? Because it's John Travolta's girlfriend. And that's tabloid stuff. I'm sorry, that's not really news. Doesn't affect my life. So as far as the coronavirus is concerned, apparently over at NBC, they had this doctor who was claiming he'd battled COVID-19 and how terrible it was. And it turns out he never even had it. NBC just put him up there as a big fake to fake you out. Have you any shame, NBC? Apparently not. Apparently not. All right, let's talk about the international news now. Apparently, Saudi-backed and UAE-backed Yemeni fighters clash in Taiz. And apparently this is fighting in southern Yemen continued over the weekend. And apparently they're all, the city in Taiz. Apparently the Saudis are accusing the UAE-backed separatists of having designs on the strategically important city. Government forces and the Southern Transitional Council, boy, there are so many players in this, have been fighting over several provinces in South Yemen in recent weeks. Okay, Yemeni Houthis say they hit a Saudi oil facility in a drone and missile attack. They hit a large oil facility in the southern Saudi Arabian city of Jizan, according to a Houthi military spokesman who said earlier today. The Saudi-led coalition fighting the Houthis said earlier it had intercepted and destroyed 4 missiles and 6 explosive drones fired by the Houthis over the border toward Saudi Arabia. But there was no Saudi confirmation of where they were intercepted or whether anything was hit. Oil company Saudi Aramco operates a 400,000 barrel per day refinery in the Red Sea city of Jizan, which lies around 40 miles from the Yemen border. Aramco declined to comment. Now, if I was running those spy satellites the U.S. has in orbit, I'd be taking a look down there to see if there's a lot of smoke around that city here. Okay, Israeli soldiers invaded Saturday the Al-Isawiya town in occupied East Jerusalem, fired gas bombs and concussion grenades at Palestinian families celebrating their siblings' high school graduation, wounding 8 residents, including a pregnant woman, in addition to abducting a father and 2 of his sons. Now, there's one way to celebrate high school graduation, I guess. Meanwhile, of course, Tel Aviv has its own protests related to the lockdown from COVID-19. And apparently the protests are turning violent. They're setting trash on fire. And the Israeli police announced that it was working to disperse the crowds who are conducting an illegal protest and disturbing the public order. Netanyahu is vowing relief as Israelis fume over the virus-battered economy. And apparently they're going to have their equivalent of the stimulus. And there's going to be cash disbursements of up to $2,170 to the self-employed. Now, this grant is not dependent on legislation, and it's going into effect. The button will be pushed. The money will reach accounts in the coming days. Gee, isn't that easy? You push a button and money just appears out of thin air. All righty. Trump is trying to hide U.S. and Israeli war crimes by attacking the International Criminal Court. And as you're probably already aware, Palestinian authorities have petitioned the court to look at Israel's actions in the occupied territories and to basically say war crimes are taking place. And it is now up to the ICC's Office of the Prosecutor to decide whether the complaint should be pursued. If the prosecutor launches a preliminary examination and finds reason to believe they committed war crimes, the court would authorize a full investigation. Well, obviously, there's a lot of political pressure coming from the United States, and Israel is saying, no, this is ridiculous here. Anyway, the complaint states there is credible evidence that Trump, Netanyahu, and Kushner are complicit in acts that may amount to war crimes relating to the transfer of populations into occupied territory and the annexation of the sovereign territory of the state of Palestine. Under Article 15 of the ICC's Rome Statute, any individual, group, or organization can bring a complaint to the Office of the Prosecutor. Now, the prosecutor's been a little bit reluctant to move forward on this, to the point where some of the ICC judges are saying, you got to deal with this. You can't pretend this is not an issue. The whole world is watching, and the credibility of the International Criminal Court itself is on the line here. And I think that's a widespread, assumption. The ICC is supposed to be taking care of international crimes. If they, like the UN, turn a blind eye to Israel's crimes, they will lose credibility. We got to take another break here for some commercials. We'll be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure, resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue, and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed, and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, the number 2, keep it today.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Extendovite really works. Here are some reviews from Amazon.com. John Hess, 5 out of 5 stars. Awesome. Probably my only review, but at age 40, I was getting bad heartthrob and left arm pain, mainly before bed. I even stopped smoking and drinking sodas for a month, and that didn't work. After one day of taking Extendovite, it was gone and hasn't returned in 3 years. I've ordered Extendovite 13 times, so Amazon just said. Juliet Hordick. I've ordered this product before in liquid form. It is fantastic. My whole family's been on it. To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822, or visit our website at heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Hey, honey, I'm home. I grabbed a newspaper on the way home. Look at all the news today.
Don't you know that all you're going to get in the newspaper is propaganda, twisted news, and false information?
Honey, this is a national newspaper. It has to be true.
Ha! For some reason, the majority of the population believe anything the mainstream media tells them. The newspaper doesn't give out the important attention of what's happening to this country and news that affects our daily lives. Say, does that newspaper mention anything about the North American Union?
No, not that I can see.
I didn't think so. You need to go to www.newswithviews.com, where truth is more important than political correctness. That's www.newswithviews.com. Hey, don't throw that away. We can use that in the birdcage.
Okay, move over. Let me start reading newswithviews.com.
The truth? Read all about it at newswithviews.com. Newswithviews.com, where reality shatters illusion.
When all this twisted steel was swept away, did these remaining holes reveal what's really happened?
And welcome back to our show here. And I want to give you a quote here. It's a snippet taken from a very large document prepared by the government of North Korea. Quote, in order to eliminate the nuclear threats from the U.S., the DPRK government has made all possible efforts, either through dialogue or in resort to the international law, but all ended in a vain effort. The only option left was to counter nuke with nuke, end quote. Now, does this sound like a threat to launch a nuclear strike on the U.S.? No, it's an explanation of the rationale behind North Korea, or for that matter, any other country, to have a nuclear weapons program as a deterrent, to create the fear to attack in the mind of a potential attacker. But of course, the U.S. media didn't report it that way. They took this same quote and reported it as North Korea threatening to nuke the United States. What North Korea wants is a deterrent to keep the United States from invading them. And if you look at all the countries the United States has invaded over the last decades, none of them had nuclear weapons. They lacked a deterrent. We were told they had deterrence, especially with Iraq. Oh, he's got weapons of mass destruction. He's got poison gas. He's got germs. He's got nuclear bombs hidden under Saddam's bedroom. All of which was a lie, of course. And North Korea has a right to defend itself against aggression from outside, from any source whatsoever. Every nation shares that same right. There's no international law that says you have to put down your weapons and let the United States march on in and take over your place, because it's already done it to so many countries already. Now, speaking of lies and being truthful, Iran has come forward and admitted that the downing of Ukraine International Airlines Flight 752 after it took off from Tehran was their fault. 176 passengers and crew were killed when it exploded in the sky after a direct missile impact. And they're saying basically what happens is the operator of the defensive radar forgot to make a crucial adjustment when the radar went into defensive mode, and it misidentified the aircraft. This sounds tragically similar to what happened with the USS Vincennes and the Iranian Airbus. It was obviously a system failure. But Iran's being much more upfront. You know, I hate the fact that they shot down that airplane, but at least they're being honest about it. You don't see a whole heck of a lot of that coming from the United States government, do you? Meanwhile, the United States State Department is warning U.S. citizens in China of prolonged interrogations and extended detention. The U.S. has come out and warned citizens there's a heightened risk of arbitrary law enforcement and detention for visitors to the Asian country. Probably more of this China bashing. And the State Department is saying exercise increased caution in China, noting there's a chance they could be banned from exiting the country, according to Reuters. I don't know. I think China would be happy to get rid of them. Let's see. State Department, U.S. citizens may be detained without access to U.S. consular services. Well, that would be an international crime. Or information about their alleged crime. This sounds more like booga booga, I'm afraid. Meanwhile, the United States is warning Iran and China against a major investment and security deal. Well, it's not really any of their business if you think about it. Now, the exact terms haven't been announced, but Iranian officials are reporting they're close to finalizing a major deal with China that would expand security ties and greatly expand economic ties. Now, where it gets to be rather interesting is looking at the issue of U.S. sanctions, where the U.S. is out there saying, you get a sanction, and you get a sanction, and you get a sanction. And the use of the sanctions have given the ability to dictate most ties for these nations. China has a strong enough economy where they can simply flat out ignore the United States. And the State Department sanctions are likely to be of minimum value. So if they go ahead with this attempt to thwart this deal, they could wind up passing the watershed moment where China becomes the economic powerhouse of the world. And the United States is a paper dollar thrashing around trying to relive their days of greatness here. Sweden joins France and Germany in weighing measures against China over Hong Kong, the latest firebrand, the growing push for a war between East and West. Sweden said on Monday it supported Franco-German efforts for a robust response to China's new security law on Hong Kong, joining Denmark and the Netherlands in pushing the European Union to consider countermeasures on Beijing. Okay, we're going to talk about the economic news here a little bit. Hedge fund CIO. Trump is now left with two darker options, a domestic civil conflict and or a Chinese conflict. He could wind up with both if he's not careful. We have civil conflict taking place in the streets of America right now. And we're not seeing a clear demarcation, between sides. It's very, very blurry. It's hard to tell, who's a good guy, who's a bad guy. I think the bad guys are the ones with rocks and spray can paints in their hands. But he could have a conflict with China. And that would be a bad thing. Because looking at the true state of our military, it looks really good. Boy, you should have seen RIMPAC. but I don't know that it really is. All right, people are getting prepared for a tsunami of evictions that could make 28 million Americans homeless this summer alone. People are unable to pay their rent because of the hit on the economy by the COVID-19, or the hit on the economy because the economy was failing anyway, and they're blaming COVID-19 for it. But apparently nearly 1/3 of the U.S. households, representing 32%, have not made their full housing payments for the month of July, according to a survey from the online rental platform Apartment List. And I noticed that a lot of big name retailers are only paying half rent right now to their landlords, trying to work out a deal about, carry us along for a little while, we'll make it up somewhere down the road. Everybody's struggling right now. The Fed is trapped in quantitative easing as interest rates can't rise ever again. If they were to raise the interest rates, everything would fall apart. And we're looking at all this stuff here between China and Saudi Arabia and Yemen and Syria and Iraq and everything. We have to remember, George Washington tried to warn us about foreign policy and foreign entanglements. So Ben Rhodes, Barack Obama's deputy national security advisor, characterized the foreign policy establishment in Washington, D.C. as the Blob, reference to a science fiction movie, early Steve McQueen picture, cult classic. And although policymakers sometimes disagree on peripheral areas, membership requires an absolute commitment to U.S. leadership, which means a determination to micromanage the rest of the world. Reliance on persuasion is not enough. Vital is the willingness to bomb, invade, and occupy other nations that impose the blob's dictates on other people. If foreigners die, as they often do, remember that saying about eggs and omelets. Stuff happens. Now, this next article is very, very interesting. It's called Lessons from Dr. Strangelove, The Risks of Deploying Low-Yield Nukes on Submarines. And basically what they're talking about is there was a perceived small nuclear capable gap. People who study deterrence and weapons are always talking about a gap. We've got this array of weapons to protect ourselves and to project power onto other countries. But, we've got a gap here that other countries are getting ready to fill, and we can't quite match them there. So more money, more money, more money, we're going to go in there. And one of the gaps they're filling is a very small nuclear missile for submarines. Okay? And they're talking about Ohio-class SSBNs, which according to Navy workers stands for Saturdays, Sundays, and a bunch of nights to keep them running. Now, these submarines can launch ballistic missiles armed with the W-76-1 warhead, which is a 90 kiloton yield, or the W-88 warhead, which is a 455 kiloton yield. Now, the Ohio-class submarines carry at least one W-76-2 warhead that has a yield of just 5 to 8 kilotons. Now, why is that a danger? Well, because you need to understand that nuclear submarines operate away from the strict controls that you would see in the missile silos and the airplanes because of the communications issues. Yes, they've got VLS and ELS, but for the most part, those subs are operating on their own. And the captain and the first officer and WEPs can, if they want, launch those missiles on their own. So the reference to Dr. Strangelove is because the character of General Jack D. Ripper goes crazy, and he activates a plan that gives him the authority to launch a nuclear attack against the Soviet Union if he's able to convince his followers that Washington, D.C. has been destroyed. Well, apparently this 8 megaton bomb is operating on the same general area, and there is a concern that having this low-yield nuke on board would be very, very tempting for a subcommander to try and use to create the idea of deterrence. Now, this article is really very telling. Okay, this came out of responsiblestatecraft.org, and it hits the nail right on the head. And when I'm talking to this about you, I want you to think back to that article about projecting power into the West Pacific and China. The article is entitled, "Why Would the Navy Buy More Ships When It's Incapable of Competently Managing What It Has?" Okay, and they go back to 1989 when the number 2 turret on the battleship USS Iowa exploded, killing 47 crewmen. The Navy bungled the investigation, blaming the incident on a suicidal sailor they claimed was spurned by his male lover. It wasn't true. An independent inquiry cleared the sailor, saying the explosion was the result of a loading accident. When the sailor's family demanded an apology, the Navy refused. We had the sister of the guy they tried to frame on this show back then. So, yeah. 2 years later, in 1991, remember the tailhook scandal? There was apparently 26 Navy women were assaulted by some 70 male Navy and Marine pilots. The women were forced to run a gauntlet on the hotel's 3rd floor where they were groped and grabbed. The Navy again botched its inquiry, with one investigator saying that a lot of female pilots are go-go dancers, topless dancers, or hookers. Really? You know, you women who want to talk about, being abused by men, there's a good place to start. So the Senate Armed Services Committee froze the promotion of 5,000 Navy and Marine officers. The Navy Secretary resigned. The Chief of Naval Operations retired early, and 14 admirals were reprimanded or forced to resign. Then in 1996, there was the suicide, supposedly, of Chief of Naval Operations Michael Burda, because he was wearing medals he hadn't earned. So then you have 2010, when the Navy opened a fraud investigation of Leonard Glenn, Fat Leonard Francis, a defense contractor who bribed Navy officers with prostitutes and cash to provide him with classified information that would help his company. And in the end, some 70 admirals got into trouble with that one. Then you had the USS Antietam ran aground in Tokyo Harbor. The USS Lake Champlain collided with a South Korean fishing boat. The USS Fitzgerald struck a Japanese merchant ship, and the USS John McCain slammed into an oil tanker. Okay, guys, I am not impressed by the United States Navy. And I've spent enough time on the ocean myself to know what is good and bad seamanship. I think any other country with a Navy looking at this record is going to realize that the United States is spending a lot of money on ships. They don't have the crews and the command structure to manage them properly. They don't. That's why all these accidents keep happening. And there will be more. There will be more until the institution itself is overhauled. And you get people in positions of high command who are not there because of their allegiance to some defense contractor, but who are seriously committed to the welfare of this country and restoring the reputation of the United States Navy. This is definitely not it. This is not it. Okay, now let's see. There's an interesting little book coming out. This is from UNS.com. Talking about historical frauds. I've talked about a few of these myself in other contexts here, but they're talking about how perhaps 90 or even 95% of everything we think we know or believe to be true about history is wrong. And some of the examples they have in this article is Einstein, and we've talked about this before, which is where his wife actually did most of the math. And Einstein basically copied bits and pieces from earlier work to put together the theory of relativity and really did not come up with anything original himself. Then they talk about Alexander Graham Bell, who's supposedly the American inventor of the telephone. And there's two problems with that. Of course, Bell was Canadian, not American, and he did not invent the telephone. An Italian named Antonio Meucci patented a working telephone many years before Bell did anything. Now, Bell had obtained copies of Meucci's drawings and patents and had attempted to obtain U.S. patents on Meucci's phone. Meucci discovered Bell's attempted patent of his invention, filed a lawsuit, in support of which he brought from Italy all of his documents, working models, original sketches, and his patent to present to the court as evidence of his prior invention. The delivery company, Western Union, was charged with the responsibility as trustee to hold this evidence for delivery of court. But all of it amazingly disappeared without a trace immediately prior to the court hearing, leaving Meucci with no proof of anything and thus he lost his lawsuit to Alexander Graham Bell. It's worth noting that at the time, Alexander Graham Bell was employed at the Western Union lab where Meucci's evidence was being stored. Then they talk about Thomas Edison, who was really good at copying other people's work and bullying patents, buying patents. And of course, if you saw the Tom Hanks miniseries From the Earth to the Moon, the very last episode documents how Thomas Edison stole the film From the Earth to the Moon from its original filmmaker and basically financially ruined him because the filmmaker had invested absolutely everything that he'd had in this film, and he was going to hand colorize it and everything. Georges Méliès, that was his name. Anyway, we're going to take another break for a commercial, and we'll be right back.
Is the Second Amendment your line in the sand? Is the United States Constitution important to you? Are you worried about gun confiscation? You need to join us for free at gunconfiscation.com. At gunconfiscation.com, you will meet like-minded patriots, get the latest Second Amendment news, and find anything you need to prepare for gun confiscation. Visit gunconfiscation.com today. That's gunconfiscation.com. Which side are you on?
Talk Right, the conservative app offered by TalkStream Live that caters exclusively to the conservative talk radio community. Here you'll see only talk shows and podcasts from the conservative right. All the big broadcast names and online digital shows in one place. Talk Right makes it easy to find all your favorite conservative talkers with all the upscale features you come to expect from TalkStream Live. Keep up with the fast-paced political world. Download Talk Right today from Google Play or the App Store.
Did you know that you can be tracked and traced when you're online? With identity theft and cybercrimes on the rise, your passwords, your identity, and even your physical location can be revealed to complete strangers. Would you like to surf the internet anonymously and not have to worry about these threats? Well, now you can by visiting patriotinternet.com. For about $2 per month, patriotinternet.com will conceal your IP address and your physical location, allowing you to browse the web, send emails, and instant message anonymously. patriotinternet.com will bypass filters, block sites, and keyword blocking. You can also bypass logging by your router and your ISP. With patriotinternet.com, there is no software to install and uses 128-bit encryption for your protection. When using wireless hotspots, patriotinternet.com shields your information from identity thieves and is compatible with Windows, Mac, and Linux. Protect your identity and your freedom with anonymous internet access from patriotinternet.com. Visit patriotinternet.com today.
Extend your life with Extendovite, a 7-herb combination made from garlic, cayenne, bilberry, hawthorn, ginkgo biloba, valerian, and milk thistle. Each herb was chosen for their abilities to help improve irregular heartbeats, chest pain, lower cholesterol, as well as normalize blood pressure and clean and strengthen arteries, plus much, much more. Doctors have taken people off of some or all of their pills just because they believe their patients got better while taking Extendovite. Get the dependability of Extendovite. Just see how you feel in 6 months. A 2-month supply of either capsules or liquid is only $69.95 plus shipping and handling. Call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
We the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and
And aloha, America. Welcome back to the show here. We're talking about the great historical frauds we've already been raised with. And I intend to buy this book. And as soon as I get more information about where it comes out, it's not out yet. When it comes on out, I'm going to put the information up there. There are other books like it already, like The Delusions and Madness of Crowds, which talks about tulip mania and so forth. But some of the other things they talk about here is Marconi. And Marconi was declared the father of the radio because he was the first man to build a transmitter that could transmit across the Atlantic. But in point of fact, Marconi was using designs from Nikola Tesla. And recently, the United States Supreme Court ruled that, yes, in point of fact, Tesla was the inventor of radio. Far too late to do Tesla any good, of course. But if they're still teaching in the schools, Marconi, it's Marconi. It's the Americans do it. Another one is the Wright brothers. And I wrote about them in the foreword to the article I did on life on Mars and Dr. Levin and the Viking missions. And for more than 100 years, the Smithsonian Institution has had on display an aircraft that was piloted by Orville and Wilbur Wright in 1903 in Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, in what is described as man's first powered manned aircraft flight. Americans, therefore, having created the age of flight. But that is not true. And the Smithsonian was in on the fraud from the very beginning. In an agreement with the Wright family to donate the aircraft to the institution, its officials signed a pledge to perpetuate the story the Wrights had made the first flight. Everybody there knew the claim was false. And for more than 100 years, the Smithsonian Institution of Historical Mythology, with the full support of the U.S. government and the media, has done everything in its power to dismiss, contradict, and just ignore extensive documentation of other prior flights. A lot of people have done the research on this thing. They've written books about it, but the books have been denounced by a leading aeronautical agency, the Smithsonian Institution. The authors are dismissed as unqualified, their books unreliable. In fact, there were many prior flights of powered aircraft, some in Europe, Canada, South America, others in the U.S. itself, and the Smithsonian was fully aware of this. We talked about Gustav Whitehead in the Viking article here, and the authoritative Jane's Aircraft has finally admitted Gustav Whitehead flew years before the Wright brothers. In fact, aeronautical engineers found the designs for the Whitehead plane. They built a reproduction and found not only could it fly, it flew better than the Wright Flyer. Okay, we're going to open the phone lines now so you can call on in with your comments, questions, and opinions here. We're going to do a little bit of science news here. They found a new dinosaur species. They've named it Captain Hook. It's got a curved claw at the end of its arms, was discovered in Montana, roamed the Earth 66 million years ago at the height of the Cretaceous period. By the way, there's a new show out there. I think it's on History Channel. I'm probably wrong on that. It's called Dino Hunters, and it's about all these ranchers in North Dakota and Montana and places like that who are not able to make it in an era of rising costs and lowered meat prices, and so they become commercial paleontologists, finding fossils on their land, excavating them and selling them. We got to take a break for station identification. We'll be back. Phone lines are open. Stay tuned.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective and you may be paying the wrong party party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
This is RBN, the Republic Broadcasting Network.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, where you'll find out what the Fukushima's going on.
And welcome back to our show here, hour number 2. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. Now, a lot of people have been talking about, well, they used to call it the 10th planet until Pluto was demoted. Now there's a push to re-promote Pluto back to full planet status, but that's another issue entirely. So now they're looking for what they call Planet 9. And they think it's out there because there is gravitational distortion on the orbits of the known planets. And so for a very long time, it's been thought there's something out there. And I remember when I was a resident at the Table Mountain Observatory, we spent a couple of nights trying to find it as well. So anyway, the new theory is that clumping of objects beyond Neptune may be due to the gravity of a large planet that is a primordial black hole, which is the mass of several planets in a space the size of a grapefruit. And they've got a new telescope that they hope is going to confirm the theory. Now, I have a little bit of an issue with that, because the idea of a quantum black hole or a small black hole of that size requires there to be a Big Bang, and I'm not convinced there was a Big Bang. Anyway, we're going to grab some phone calls now. Kelly in Austin. Aloha, Kelly. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi there, Mike. Can you hear me? I'm wearing a new Bluetooth device.
I hear you just fine, and you're on the air.
Okay, very good. By the way, is NASA still receiving signals from, was it Viking or Voyager?
Voyager. No, the Vikings were shut down.
Okay, yes, it was Voyager that is out past Pluto.
Yes.
I'm curious, are they still receiving signals from Voyager?
Yeah, they're still receiving some signals from Voyager. Voyager's RTGs are, starting to fade and lose power. And it's on this kind of sort of automated gather data past the heliopause and send it back. But they have noticed that the Voyager orbits are not going where they were predicted to go. And there's something acting on the way out there. Now, my theory, if you're really interested, is that our sun used to be part of a binary star system, and our partner star blew up a long time ago, and it's left its solid core way out there past the orbits of Neptune. And meanwhile, the outer gas shell flew through our solar system, which is why so much of the territory looks like it's been shotgunned. And it's now a giant gas bubble or planetary nebula centered on our sun, or centered close to our sun. And that's what they think is the cosmic background radiation from the Big Bang. That's just my theory, and I don't have the funding to look into it, but that's what I think happened.
Oh, interesting theory.
Especially if you look at that new map you just came out with the X-ray image of the entire sky, and there's a very obvious large bubble structure in that.
Maybe you're right.
Been known to happen.
Maybe you're right. Yeah, I really called to talk about this. Ghislaine Maxwell. I've been hearing some discussion over the last several days about her speculation about why she didn't depart from the United States. And the working theory is that she thought she was bulletproof. She apparently thought she had protectors in the Department of Justice who would keep her safe. And I'm thinking here that recently was the departures of many forced departures of many people from the FBI and from the Department of Justice. That protection disappeared. And the FBI finally decided it was time to call her in, and they did. But she was right out there in the open. I heard rumors that she was down in Brazil or she was in France somewhere. But apparently she was sitting right up there in New York in her nice little little mansion up there.
Yep.
And in plain sight, hiding in plain sight.
Well, she wasn't in plain sight. She was
because
wearing
again,
the COVID masks, and that's why nobody recognized her.
well, yeah. I mean, I'm sure she traveled with an entourage. And as she traveled around the United States, whether she was wearing a mask or not, people knew who in the hell she was. But
yeah,
again, I think it was interesting the speculation is that she thought she was bulletproof, and that would establish these things. She had protection.
Yep.
Now that goes to that raises the question: if she thought she was safe, how many other people out there who committed similar crimes or other crimes even worse than that are running around because they thought they had protection as well? I would love nothing more than to see her start singing like a bird.
Supposedly
I'd like
she
to see
has.
if she can implicate. Well, that's what I hear. Of course, I'm only hearing things.
I'm amazed
I've
she's
heard
still alive.
that she's singing. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's somebody who's lived her life free, and she's lived a life of luxury. And I don't think that Ghislaine Maxwell can brook the thought of spending the rest of her life in prison. And to get out of a prison sentence, I'm pretty sure that she will spill the beans on anybody and everybody. She's been in contact with, and I would just love to see whom she brings down, starting with Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton. That would be it would be delightful to watch them all.
Unfortunately, nobody's going to be surprised by anything Bill Clinton has done because he did it all. Remember when that picture came out of Bill Clinton sitting totally naked on the bed, and there was this woman, not Hillary, getting ready to give him a lotion rub down? Nobody responded.
Yeah.
It's a big deal. That's Bill Clinton.
Well,
who cares?
Yeah, well, the old joke about Bill Clinton is, what did you say? What did you say to Hillary after he had sex? I'll be home in an hour.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm curious to hear what other people think about Ghislaine Maxwell. I think that she could be the stress that causes the dam to break loose. I think a lot of people are probably very worried about what she has to say and what she might have said already.
I would say so. By the way, I get a lot of emails saying the S is silent, so it's simply Ghislaine, which is certainly easier to pronounce.
Well, not really. Ghislaine. If you're speaking American French, there's Americans who pronounce it. They'll call it Ghislaine and Ghislaine. But there's a very small, almost a silent. It's almost silent S, but it is there. Ghislaine.
All right. Well,
other French speakers would probably have a different take on that. That's how I've heard it, and that's how.
Well, let's not bother her with that, because I understand she's very, very depressed these days, and the least little thing could put her over the edge.
Well, right now her name.
I don't
is
mean to
Bud.
laugh. I want her to stay alive and spill the beans on everybody. I don't care who it is.
Oh, I
Let
do too.
Be done,
I
and
do
the heavens may fall.
Yeah, if I were a prosecutor in DOJ, I'd make every deal possible with her to get her to tell whatever she knows. I would love to hear what she
they've got
has
a
to say.
potential rape charge they can put over her head to get more leverage, but as I understand it, they don't need a lot of leverage. She's singing like a canary.
Yeah, that's what I hear. Of course, I can't confirm that, but I mean, you and I have probably heard it from the same sources. They seem to be reliable sources.
Yeah.
Let's hope that it all leads to something. Okay, Mike. Good talking with you.
Thanks an awful lot. We're going to let you go and go to Peter in Los Angeles. Hello, Peter. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, I echo what the gentleman just said. And you do have to wonder why, after all this time, why they didn't close in on Maxwell. And the theory that I would have is that a lot of the people in the that have now been discredited, like the Comey and blah blah blah, Rosenstein, and all these people in the Justice Department, who were in the Hillary sort of Clinton Foundation back pocket, we're also trying to restrain information on that. And since they're in sort of eclipse now, hopefully, that now maybe the balance of power has changed within the DOJ to make a move. But I sure hope so. But you know what, Mike? You know something will happen. You hear about her 4 lieutenants. I don't know if you've heard that yet.
No.
You know, sub comandantes, women mostly, who were also involved in procuring and basically pimping these girls below her. But you never hear above. There's never a reference to Les Wexner or any of the MAGA guys. So if it goes up, then you know there's some real justice about to be had. And one of the reasons why you doubt that it will is because the institutions of the DOJ and the FBI, who probably were in on all the blackmail, just like Hoover had done for all those years. That their institution, if it were to come out federally, that the institution, just like Russiagate, the institution itself would be at risk. You know.
Well, that's why, you know, this whole situation about Ghislaine is not about justice. It's about political damage. And so we need to find out who would be hurt worse by her going totally public, who would be hurt the least. And probably that person who's going to be hurt the least is the one who's saying, yeah, it's time to get her arrested and get her out there and get her on 60 Minutes.
Yeah. It's interesting with all the mounting talk about Joe Biden's mental incompetence and senility, and Hillary Clinton starting to make a little more appearance. That maybe that has something to do with the timing too. But you know, Mike, I also wanted to call in about what you were talking about with all the inventors and all the revisionist history that is going on right now. And I'm a big believer. You know, I don't believe, for instance, in the Holocaust and some of the history of World War II. I think needs to be not just the Holocaust, but has to be reassessed. But history has always been good. History has always been revised as new sources and documents. And diaries.
Did you ever see Clint Eastwood's film Flags of Our Father?
Yes.
Yeah, it was very, very good film, and it's based on the truth. You know, they went to town with the wrong photo.
And there's there may be 2 members of that, I think 7 group that had to be re-identified and so on. But the point is that now revisionism is in the vogue in such a huge way that the statues are being pulled down. Everybody is a racist, and so it's cultural revolution, almost revisionism. And I keep remembering back when I went through survival, evasion, and escape stuff in the military, where they simulate putting you in a prison camp, and they put you inside a locker and beat the locker with batons until the sound died. I mean, it was nuts. A lot of simulated torture and stuff. But one of the techniques they used to talk about that the our servicemen went through as POWs in the Korean War was a complete refuting of almost all our history.
Yeah.
And how it made them sort of gave them nothing to cling to.
Yeah.
And susceptible to brainwashing. And you wonder, with all the demoralization and brainwashing, all that's been going on in mass here, now we're being told that nothing we believe is true, and that you wonder if that's another one of those techniques done in mass.
Well, in this case, I mean, we know that in the rush to say America's a great nation and America's first, there's one consistent pattern through all of these frauds, and that is to make sure that everybody thinks America did this first before anybody else. America invented the light bulb first. Well, no, that's not true. Germany had it. America invented the motor car. Actually, no, Germany had that first too. All Henry Ford did was invent the assembly line. and over again, it's all about, an American did this first, and an American did that first, and we find out it really wasn't true. And the irony is that during the height of the Cold War, they were always accusing the Soviet Union of lying to try and claim credit for certain things. And then, of course, they
used to
Sputnik.
say, yeah, the Russians would say, we invented it, remember?
Yep.
And America was always laughing at that. Of course, we also laughed about, they say, oh, the Russians, they have elections that they really don't. And, they have courts and trials, but not really. And that turns out it's that way with us, So, I don't know.
Okay.
You there?
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm here. Yeah. I was checking something on the email. Control room's getting a little busy here.
I hear you. Listen, that was just my comment, Mike. Thanks very much.
All right. Well, thank you very much. First of all, I think people who do the work deserve the credit. And I know there are 3 spacecraft being launched to land on Mars in the next couple of months during the window transition orbit out to Mars. And these 3 probes are going to be looking for historical microbial life. And I don't know what they mean by historical, because if they put down a microscope and something is crawling around down there, then it will be a confirmation of what Viking found back in 1976. And Dr. Levin will be vindicated after all this time, but he won't get the credit. I'll guarantee you right now, NASA, which stands for Never a Straight Answer, is going to say, we've done it now today with the current NASA management and the current NASA science team. So I'm a little bit annoyed about that kind of injustice. And then to go back on and find out that our schools, our public schools, our government taxpayer funded schools, were feeding us lies about who invented the automobile, who invented the airplane, who invented the electric light, so forth and so on. It's very annoying, and it shows a total lack of respect by the government towards we the people. All right, we're going to take another phone call. Tom in Florida. Hello, Tom. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Good day, Michael. Yeah, Michael, what's on my mind is what I'm hearing today. I heard the Redskins are going to be renamed the Foreskins or Pigskins. That's the new name. I don't know what I think Pigskins would be better than Foreskins, but
I agree.
Plays out. And also, Michael,
I think that first one is problematic. I mean, the more they fondle that ball, the bigger it gets.
Yes, but that would be a good name for them too. Matter of fact, I don't think I'll ever watch any more football. Maybe I'll glance at the Super Bowl when it's on, but I won't ever watch another stupid game for the National Felony League. Forget it. I'm done with that in NASCAR. But Mike, what I really wanted to talk about is first off, it looks like ammunition is the new toilet paper in the United States.
Yes.
That's number one. Number two is I saw on Newsmax just now about 3 hours ago that there's more deer hunters than in Michigan and Wisconsin. There's over 2.5 million deer hunters alone in those 2 states alone.
Yes.
Did you see that article?
Yes, I did.
That's pretty fascinating. You got millions of deer hunters with license. So I think that's a great thing. I think we need much more of that. And so we'll see how that plays out. This imbecile Biden bumbling and fumbling, lying all over the place. It's absurd. But Michael, what I wanted to also main thing I really want to talk about that there's 2 major things that I wonder if you caught on to. First off, since the coronavirus, they're shutting their mouths about what's really going on in Hong Kong. A lot of people are getting murdered by the Chinese government in Hong Kong, and they're trying to keep that quiet. And another thing that's very big that nobody's talking about, and I don't know if you had to see the interview with the golfer Gary Player.
Yeah.
About South Africa. He didn't get too political, but he's like trying to hint a little bit. I saw he was taped last week. I saw a few things he was trying to mention that. Look, South Africa is number 1 in the world for robbery and burglaries. Okay, murder is the 3 most murderous cities in the world right now are in Venezuela. Venezuela is the murder country of the world, and 3 of their cities are in the top 10 in Venezuela. That's what we're going to get here, Mike. We're going to have Venezuela. No, Chicago wasn't even near Chicago. Chicago, excuse me, was number 9. Was number 9 on the list.
Okay.
Chicago. And
keep things in perspective.
It was mainly Venezuela in all of South America. It's off the chain over there. It's in, of course, Ecuador. I mean, excuse me. I think it's Honduras and some other country. Honduras and Venezuela are crazy. The numbers are insane. South Africa's in there too. South Africa's, the hate crime that's committed in South Africa is astronomical. Mike, you need to look at the FBI statistics.
I'm sorry, Tom. I got to let you go. We got to take a break for commercials. We'll be right back.
Extend your life with Extendovite, a 7-herb combination made from garlic, cayenne, bilberry, hawthorn, ginkgo biloba, valerian, and milk thistle. Each herb was chosen for their abilities to help improve irregular heartbeats, chest pain, lower cholesterol, as well as normalize blood pressure and clean and strengthen arteries, plus much, much more. Doctors have taken people off of some or all of their pills just because they believe their patients got better while taking Extendovite. Get the dependability of Extendovite. Just see how you feel in 6 months. A 2-month supply of either capsules or liquid is only $69.95 plus shipping and handling. Call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
When all this twisted steel was swept away, did these remaining holes reveal what's really happened?
And welcome back to our show here. And a reminder that Republic Broadcasting and WhatReallyHappened.com are in a state of perpetual fundraising. We need to replace equipment. That's a reality. We need to pay hosting fees. And, for the first 12 years that I did this, I was financially able to just cover all the costs myself. That's no longer true. And Republic Broadcasting and What Really Happened need your help to keep on doing what we're doing. So the postal address where you can send a check, money order, or if you prefer anonymity cash is Republic Broadcasting Network, 2251 Double Creek Drive, number 302, Round Rock, Texas, 78664. The phone number where you can make a credit or debit card donation is 800-724-2719, extension 3. The network thanks you. All right. The phone lines are still open, 800-313-9443. Apparently, China and Iran have inked that military deal we reported on earlier in the show. And one of the elements of the deal is China will invest $280 billion U.S. in developing Iran's oil, gas, and petrochemicals sector. So now you know why the United States was going in there and saying, don't you do that. Don't you do that. We'll be very unhappy if you did that. I think the rest of the world is saying, there's really no way to make the United States happy. There just isn't here. Libya is on the brink of a major military conflict. It looks like Turkey and Egypt may go to war over Syria. It's just everybody's raring to go, and they're just waiting for a starting time here. And let's see. The discriminatory statewide shutdowns lack precision and consistency, disregard individual immunity, threaten personal liberty. It's sort of haphazard. There should be a uniform plan going on. It has to adapt to how many COVID-19 cases each area has. But they're starting to withhold that information because they're afraid that it will trigger hate crimes if a certain area, certain town, certain city has a sudden spike in COVID-19. Okay. Before Trump, if you blamed the government for anything, you were a conspiracy theorist, but now the left blames everything on Trump and government conspiracy. Okay. Okay, apparently the Facebook fact checkers have been caught making wrong fact checks and exposing the liberal bias, which is nobody's surprise to anything. Somebody did a study and found out only 20% of traders actually make a profit. This presumably includes the day traders. And I'm often seeing these commercials out there saying, you can come in and you can play in the stock market with, X trade or Y trade or Z trade. And the first question I have is, if the stock market's that good, why are they reaching out to other people? Why aren't they investing their own money and staying quiet about it? Which reminds me of The Wolf of Wall Street. If you haven't seen that movie or read that book, you need to do that here because it's based on a true story. All righty. The first Masked Singer Australia contestant revealed. Oh, no, it's junk news here. A lot of stuff gets posted here that's kind of junk. All right, well, we're still waiting for some phone calls to come on in. 800-313-9443. I want to get back to this idea about the inventions and the hoaxes we were raised with. We were taught that Bell invented the telephone. We now know that was a lie. We know that Marconi did not invent the radio. Nikola Tesla did. And we see that many of these people who are honored as the inventor and creator of these American achievements were actually stealing the patents. That Tom Hanks miniseries on From the Earth to the Moon, if you haven't seen it, I don't know if it's out there on Hulu or something, but it's worth watching. It's very accurate, and it does remind us of what a glorious time we had back in the 60s and 70s. But that last episode where they talk about Georges Millet, and then there's that other film, the Hugo, about Millet. That's worth seeing. All right, we got callers calling on in, so let's start with Jim in Illinois. Hello, Jim. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hello, Michael. Do you have any comments or opinion of why Trump gave Roger Stone a free get-out-of-jail card?
Well, I think Trump basically explained it in his speech that he thinks Roger Stone got a raw deal, that he was railroaded into this, that the Get Trump Russiagate plan fell apart, and in order to justify all the money and time that was spent, they needed somebody to hang out there for the public to hiss at, for the little 2-minute hate. And Roger Stone got picked for it. Now, Trump stopped short of granting him a full pardon, I think because he knew there was going to be a political backlash. The really interesting part about this is now the state of New York is looking at going after Roger Stone. And if they convict him, Trump can't pardon him. Trump only has the authority to pardon federal convictions.
Right. I found it really interesting. Number one, he was found guilty on 7 charges, and I read this afternoon, it was over the weekend, where William Barr is even upset.
I'm going to have to put you on hold. I'm going to have to put you on hold. We got to take a break for commercials. Don't hang up. We'll be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure, resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue, and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed, and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, keep it today.
It's happening, ladies and gentlemen. We here at RBN are working with Front Sight Firearms Training Institute to bring our audience the best in combat, tactical, and defensive firearms training. Whether you're a private citizen who is new to firearms or you have a concealed weapon permit and want a level of training that surpasses what you've received from your local gun range, Front Sight provides priceless education and skills taught by seasoned law enforcement, military, and private citizen instructors to levels that far exceed law enforcement and military standard. With nearly 1 million responsible citizens trained from every town, city, and state from across the United States, Front Sight has bolstered the Patriot movement to a whole new level. Contact Dan Sutterfield by phone at 573-762-2356 or 573-465-2356 or shoot him an email at domedan, DOMEDAN @hotmail.com. This is a limited time opportunity. Don't miss it.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Extendovite really works. Here are some reviews from Amazon.com. Nikki, great product. Have to try it for a few months to see results. After taking Extendovite for about 6 months, I have noticed improvement on the numbness of my hands and wrists from carpal tunnel. I will continue to buy the product. Ken Peaks, 5 out of 5 stars. Works as advertised. This formula is very powerful. Be careful to follow directions. I am feeling much better. My heart rate and blood pressure has stabilized and my lower edema has reduced. Lower leg pain due to blood clots has disappeared. Thank you. To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit our website at heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Well, they're stealing down on Wall Street and in Washington too. You know, it makes me wonder, what's a guy on Main Street to do? I've always tried to be an honest, upstanding kind of guy, but I must admit lately, I thought about giving something else a try. Oh, I want to be a pirate. I want to sail the 7 seas, yeah, I want to be a pirate. I want to do just...
And welcome back to our show here. We're talking with Jim Illinois. We're talking about Trump's commutation of sentence for Roger Stone here. He's still a convicted felon on his record, which means in many states he's not allowed to vote. In a lot of states, he's not allowed to own a firearm. Apparently, a judge has come forward asking if Trump's commutation also applies to the 24-hour supervised probation that Stone is supposedly on. So they're still trying to keep this thing alive here. And as I said, the Southern District of New York, I think it is looking at finding something to prosecute. They don't want to let go because it makes them look bad. And we're coming up on an election. And right now, everything's going to be about making the other party look guilty of sin and making your own party look like they're, born again Christians or something. And it's going both ways here. That's why I made that comment before about Ghislaine Maxwell. This is not about justice. This is about political damage. Who pays the most for it? So, Jim, can I pick up where you left off?
I was surprised to hear that Attorney General William Barr, he was not happy with Trump when he gave Roger Stone a free card to get out of jail or not even go to jail. That really surprised me.
Yeah, that's an interesting aspect of it. It kind of tells you Barr's not really on Trump's side.
I think Barr is looking out for himself and also for other people.
Well, aren't they all?
Right. And finally, I know every single day, they're talking about this current virus, but it does seem like it is increasing. I don't know how you feel about that or what you've been watching or not watching, but it does seem like there's no slowdown.
Well, there's slowdown in some states, but it's spiking in other states, and they're finally starting to admit that all of these Black Lives Matter, cancel protests are in fact spreading the disease.
Well, I definitely could see that. So, well, Michael, you take care.
All right, thanks an awful lot. We're going to switch over to Don in Arizona. Hello, Don. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hello. Hello, Mike.
Hello, you're on the air.
Yeah. As far as censorship, there's been some censorship lately in Mensa, and you said you were in Mensa a long time ago. I don't know how far you got in the weeds as far as the rules and regulations, but Mensa is supposed to have they have a constitution.
Yes.
They're not supposed to, as a group, they're not supposed to express any opinions. The whole idea was you have a whole bunch of different people. The only thing they have in common is they're good at IQ tests and throw them together and see what happens.
Yes.
And it's supposed to be a free exchange of ideas. Well, they even though the Constitution of Mensa says you can't have an opinion, they threw that out. The libtards are taking over the group is what's been going on. So
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, and they don't care about the Constitution, just like the liberals don't care about the U.S. Constitution. It's the same. It's a microcosm there, and I guess somebody was putting pressure on them, because Mensa has no political power, but they do have kind of this cachet or whatever you want to call it. Some people think it's a big deal or something, but the big wigs, whatever they are, the elected officials, they did put out a big bleeding heart liberal statement about after this George Floyd got killed, after he died. And now, see, the thing with me, I got out also for a long time. The only reason I got back into Mensa was when I was in the Philippines, I found out they were having an Asian gathering right down the street from where I was living in the Philippines. So I said, okay, I'll get back. I'll pay my dues. Because once you're in, you can quit for 20 years. They still got your name on the record that you're an inactive member. All you got to do is start paying your dues again.
Yeah.
And you can get back in. So I did that for just so I could go to that gathering, and then I stayed in. I said, okay, I'll stay in for a couple of years. And then I found out they had this unmoderated group on Facebook. Well, that was pretty cool. It's unmoderated. That caught my eye. You can say anything you want to, and that was pretty good. You could say anything you wanted to for a while. But as part of this new deal, they're going to do away with that group too. They voted. The Big Shots they actually live streamed their meeting on YouTube. I didn't watch it, but they did away with the unmoderated group because there's too much actual truth coming out, and people talking to each other. They don't want that. They want the whole idea with the libtards. They don't want to debate, and I try to debate a whole bunch of them on this group. Right? What they'll do is number one, they'll call you names. Number two, they will throw in a fact checker, which is just another way of the fact checkers are just propaganda.
Yeah.
All those fact checkers, so-called fact checkers, there's 3 or 4 or 5 of them. and they're just liberal propaganda. So anything you say, and they'll try to attack your source. If I posted something from Zero Hedge, they'll say, "Oh, Zero Hedge is no good because they got kicked off of Twitter." Well, yeah, I know that. I know they got kicked off of Twitter, but they're good. So, and anyway, the three things they'll do, they'll call you names. They'll call you stupid. Even though I was in Mensa, you can't call me stupid. We're all in Mensa, right? But they do that anyway. You're still stupid. I don't care. And they propaganda, and then the final thing they do is censorship. Well, they finally did away with that group completely, American Mensa Firehouse. And I mean, it's in the process. I finally dropped out because they made the decision to get rid of it, and it's going to happen here as soon as they appoint a group to do it. So finally I realized hell with it. Then if it's going to be like that, then I don't have to waste my time with it anymore. So I just wanted to let you know that even the the whole idea with Mensa was everybody's supposed to be all kinds of different people would get together. It never did actually work out that way because most of them were social retards and with no sense of humor, And I don't know if you noticed
that. Some were, a lot were. I think the reason I stopped going was so many people had the attitude that the world owed them something simply because they had a high IQ. And that's simply not the way it worked. But there were a lot of cool people in Mensa, and some of the wildest parties I ever attended were at Mensa conventions. So, there was a good side and a bad side. But yeah, I did sort of fade away because, I felt there were too many people out there screaming, "I have a high IQ, therefore I'm equal to you." And yet it was obvious they weren't doing anything with it. And
nobody did anything, right.
Well, I was in
even that Asian gathering I went to. It was just a bunch of people trying to sell. They're trying to peddle their own whatever they were selling, their computer, their A1 deal or whatever it was like that. Nobody's really trying to have fun anymore. But years ago, yeah, everybody was partying.
Yep.
Not just Mensa, but everywhere. I always wanted to see Gina Davis, because the actress Gina Davis. Supposedly she was in Mensa. I never did.
Yes.
I never did run into any woman that was anything like Gina Davis when I was going to all those meetings and stuff. Anyway, that's what's been happening there. So yeah, I'm going to let my dues run out again and forget all about it again because it's always a disappointment. You think,
yeah, I have no intention of going back here. I may rejoin the Magic Castle now that I'm here on the mainland, but as far as Mensa is concerned, interesting chapter in my life, over and done with. Anything else?
Right. Okay. That's all. Thanks, Mike.
Okay. We got a call from a listener who wants to ask Tom from Florida to call back in because they think he had more to say and that I rudely cut him off for the commercial break here. So, Tom, if you're listening. Meanwhile, we're going to take a phone call from Sebastian in Sweden. Hello, Sebastian. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, hi, Mike. Yeah, everything's okay here with me anyway. I'm still hanging in there. I just want to talk about the increase in violence in Stockholm area. They've increased 50% of shootings since last year. So this corona thing didn't help at all, and the police thought it would. The violence in Stockholm. And to get reference in that, when I came here in 1970, they were still talking about a police shooting in '67. There was unheard of shootings in the whole country. It was like maybe one or two a year. And there we have, but it's because of the influx in 2015, of course. We all know that. And then another thing, Norway, Norway doesn't have any patients, COVID patients in the respirator. Completely, and Sweden, actually, it's going down here too, even though it's high. I mean, the herd immunity never worked, as you were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
And another, sorry?
I just agreed with you.
Another thing I was thinking about, sorry? You don't agree?
No, I said I was agreeing with you.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, and another thing, Mike, this thing with Donald Trump, I'm worried about it. It's almost as if he doesn't want to have another 4 years. I mean, because of the fact that the Democrats are buying the tickets to the, places when the arenas and everything. And
Oh,
he
they don't
hasn't
buy
done
them. They don't
anything,
spend
like
the
you said,
money. They just
anything.
make the reservations.
Yeah, exactly, and that's bad. It's like you said, it should be a first come, first served basis. And the last thing I want to talk about, I'm a ham, but I'm inactive now. I don't have a kilo or whiskey signal. I have a Sierra mic. You know, I got it since I've been in Sweden here, and I was mainly on QRP, which is low powered equipment, heat kit that I built myself, and
Oh, good for you.
Tech, and 90% of the time I was on the CV, and at best I was up to 25 and 30 words a minute. I still try to hang in there to keep my, the code up in my head.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, here in the United
SSB,
States, the code is no longer required for the technician class license.
Well, they have a technician class here that's not a code, but when I took it, it was required, and then I really got interested in it. It was something. It's like if you play a musical instrument, you shouldn't have trouble learning the Morse code. If you're a little bit, you can play an instrument. I used to play the guitar.
Yes.
That's all I wanted to say, Mike. Take care of yourself and people behind you.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Here, we're going to switch the phones over to Bobby in Florida. Hello, Bobby. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, Mike. When you brought up the Maxwell thing, she could have went anywhere in the world. Not anywhere, but she could have stayed with the Rothschilds, because I saw the movie. They have a movie on Netflix. I don't even have Netflix. I watched someone else's and let me borrow. Anyway, the movie didn't really say much other than he molested girls. It didn't have the Israeli government involved. It didn't have our government or the CIA or any of that. They kind of whitewashed it. And she could have done a lot of things, but she hung around here for a real long time. I think, like you said, the dead man switch. She's got a dead man switch, and she's part of the Mossad. She's part of the whole thing. That's her job. She's doing her job.
Yes. Well, look at her father.
I think exactly. She's just doing her job. She's working right now. They roll her out now. It's a perfect storm. You got the COVID thing, the Black Lives Matter, then you got her. This is like Caligula 2.0. This pedophilia stuff. I'm really sick of it. I know there's certain things you don't like to talk about, the whole Pizzagate thing. I personally think it was real, but some of that stuff you can't make up. I don't even want to go there. Shifting gears, I want to say that my brother's got the COVID and his wife's got it. And I know some other people, some of my Mexican friends, that their families died of it. 3 people in their families died of it. And so it's creeping around here now. And now there's 18 people in the hospital where my friend works. But I'd like to give some information about what I've been using. I know this stuff works. Colloidal silver. You can make it.
Yes.
You can take it. I take it, and I give it to my friend. He's a singer, a really good singer. Play music with him. I lost a lot of money because he kept missing gigs because he gets sinus infections. Well,
yes. I
just did some research. I got this stuff, and I learned how to make it. I bought a generator, and man, that stuff, it's like magic. I mean, it cleared his sinuses out. And it's also a very good preventative medicine, because during the wintertime, he takes it a lot. We take it. We don't drink glasses of it. Just take a little bit of it under your tongue, or he nebulized it. And he never got sick in the winter. He still does it. And we take this other stuff called oil of oregano. It's very, very good. It's a very good, like a backup immune system for you. But certain things work for certain people. Thought I'd put that out there for you, let people know about it. But yeah, it's.
We're big fans of colloidal silver. We built our own generator, and I'm in the process of upgrading it now that we've moved to Indiana. But yeah, we make our own. Claire loves the stuff, and we're actually starting to get COVID-19 patients right here in the town of Santa Claus.
Yeah, and it does kill, and it is real. And Justin has a lot to be, my brother was like Jesse. He's like, I got my mask. He wouldn't even come see my mother or my brother. They were too afraid. Oh, really? But I'm with a lot of other people. I don't think you can get it from spit or anything. Hell, I don't know. They might be spraying it on us. I don't know. But you had the one guy saying it could be in the food. Who knows? I'm not a scientist, but I'm not going to walk around in fear. But I'm going to tell you this right now. I take this stuff, and it works for me. I have a lot of faith in it. I can't say for everyone. I just thought I'd let people know about it. It's good stuff. The oil of oregano. You ever tried that, Mike? You can get it
Yes.
really good, a little bit of it.
Yes.
Okay. I'll let you go. Maybe you can get Tom back on here. I love hearing Tom. I'll talk to you later.
Yeah, well, he just called back in. We'll get to him in a few calls here. Well, we better get to him quickly. We're almost to the end of the show here. And on our flights end of this week, we're told we have to wear masks the entire time. All right, let's go to Miles in Maine. Miles, welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, good afternoon, Michael. I just got a quick one here. So, Roger Stone got the bad deal, but what can you tell me what this is about? They might charge him in New York?
Yeah, they might charge him in New York because if they can imprison him under the state law, Trump can't do anything about it. Trump's presidential pardon is
Wouldn't
only.
that be double?
Yeah,
that be double
I think the
jeopardy
case could be
charges?
made. It would be. Yeah, I think the case could be made that it's double jeopardy.
Now, let me ask you this, Michael. I'm just picking your brain because you got such a good one to pick. Say they go ahead and they force this thing in New York. Would that give Trump or, would that give Barr the opportunity to intervene and investigate, to do a full investigation on New York to see what's the origin of this? Why are they trying to do double jeopardy? And also, what I think is it'd be good to see if any influence was peddled there by either Nadler or Schumer or.
I'd like to see that as well. I'd like to see that as well.
Yeah.
Anyway, listen.
Yeah, so maybe they'll get so zealous they'll mess everything up. But hey, let me let you go. I know you're running.
Yeah, we got another commercial break, and then we got 2 more calls, including Tom in Florida. So we'll be right back.
All right, go get him, Tom. Go get him, Tom.
Did you know that you can be tracked and traced when you're online? With identity theft and cybercrimes on the rise, your passwords, your identity, and even your physical location can be revealed to complete strangers. Would you like to surf the internet anonymously and not have to worry about these threats? Well, now you can by visiting patriotinternet.com. For about $2 per month, patriotinternet.com will conceal your IP address and your physical location, allowing you to browse the web, send emails, and instant message anonymously. patriotinternet.com will bypass filters, block sites, and keyword blocking. You can also bypass logging by your router and your ISP. With patriotinternet.com, there is no software to install and uses 128-bit encryption for your protection. When using wireless hotspots, patriotinternet.com shields your information from identity thieves and is compatible with Windows, Mac, and Linux. Protect your identity and your freedom with anonymous internet access from patriotinternet.com. Visit patriotinternet.com today.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
After about a month of Extendovite, I don't know what it is about the circulation factor. I was able to increase the weight, increase the amount of sets I could do. It has to do with the oxygen getting to the blood. You should market this as an athletic performance. And I don't change anything about my diet or anything. I just thought, what the hell is in this stuff? This is amazing. Bilberry extract is got something called resveratrol in it, which is the same stuff that you get from red wine. It's also good for eyesight. And I was reading that the Royal Air Force during World War II would give their pilots bilberry jam so they could have better night vision stuff. This is amazing.
To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit our website at heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
What would you say if I told you we have a new tool that will increase production and lower maintenance costs for your meat processing company? And it would pay for itself in just 6 weeks.
When pigs fly!
The new Ease Off Model Easy 4 replaces old spring-style carcass droppers and is faster, safer, and more reliable. The Ease Off lowers or lifts 1,000 pounds to or from your rail automatically using our remote control.
Sounds expensive. Can I afford it?
Can you afford not to try the Ease Off? It installs fast with just 3 bolts in place of your current dropper. The effortless operation will reduce fatigue and injuries, speed up your line, eliminate downtime, and increase profit.
How can I order my Ease Off?
Go to easeoff.com, EAZEOFF.com, and hurry because we are offering $200 off on the new Easy 4 for a limited time. EaseOff.com. We make pigs fly. Cows, too. Ease Off LLC, Summersville, Missouri. 417-932-6419.
We will not go down in the night without a fight. You can burn up our mosques and our homes and our schools, but our spirit will never die. We will not go down in Gaza tonight. Women.
Welcome back to our show here. We're going to go back to the phones here to Patrick in England. Hello, Patrick. What's on your mind today?
Yes. Hello, Mike. I know we haven't got much time, so I'll be very, very quick. Do you not think it's a little strange that there is not one photograph on the internet anywhere of Ghislaine Maxwell being arrested? I've scoured using Start Page. I've used Yandex. I've gone into advanced mode. I've put time constraints, and there's not one. In this day and age, when anyone can be a journalist, let alone the official ones, anyone can zap a photograph with a smartphone and mail it into the Daily Mail or something, and they're paying money for it. Not one photograph of Maxwell. I'm really questioning it. Was she arrested? Because the para-elite,
Well,
they don't get arrested. And
she was arrested, but that mansion she bought has a half-mile long driveway. It was gated, so there was nobody there but Ghislaine and the FBI, and the FBI is obviously not releasing any photos they took of the scene.
no photograph of a Black Mariah or anything, or her getting out of the Black Mariah. Black Mariah is that transport vehicle we call over here for transporting the miscreants. Yeah, there's nothing. I just can't believe that there must be something somewhere. Nothing. It's a complete blackout. It's just odd. Mike.
Well, the blackout is to keep people from taking a shot at her. Anyway, listen, I need to be very rude here, and I apologize. We're going to let you go because I do want to fit Tom in Florida back in for the remainder of the show. And Tom, you seem to have some fans out there.
Yes, yeah, Michael. Yeah, thank you for letting me finish. Yeah, Michael, what I wanted to let your audience and today is, here in South Florida, I went to the grocery store, and we have a product called Goya food. And there's bumper stickers. All these Hispanic people are flying. It says, Goya, go, Trump, go. And they even have Viva Ronald Reagan. They have Viva Ronald Reagan stickers now flying all these Hispanics here in South Florida. They had a thing on the El Nuevo Herald, in the Herald newspaper here, the Spanish version. The Venezuelans are voting 94% for Donald Trump. Now they're living in South Florida. The Cubans are at 68%, and the Haitians are holding steady around 48% of the Haitian community here in South Florida will vote for Trump again. I found that fascinating that now I'm seeing bumper stickers with Donald Trump and Ronald Reagan flying on a lot of these cars over here in South Florida, and and the Goya products are flying off the shelf. You can't even buy Goya beans anymore right now. I mean, they're literally flying off the shelf. And the guy from Goya is not going to back down. He's supporting Trump. And if these liberal lickies don't like it, tough crap. Here in South Florida, the Venezuelans got it. They get it. And they're going to vote for Donald Trump. Over 95%. It's overwhelmingly the support for Trump that you don't ever see with another Hispanic group. The Cubans are holding quite steady at 68% from what I just saw. Okay. And like I said, you cannot find Goya products hardly on the shelf right now. They're buying up in droves. I've never seen nothing like it. Now they're equating the flags. Some of these old Cubans here, these old Hispanic people here in South Florida have their old Ronald Reagan flags. Well, they're flying them with Donald Trump flags. So I think that's fascinating what I saw today.
All right. Well, listen, there's the music. We have to let you go here. Please stay tuned for John Stedmiller. I'm sure he's got lots of interesting things to share with you. Please spread the word of RBN. Spread the word of whatreallyhappened.com. Please donate. Can't tell you how much we need your help. And we'll be back tomorrow. Aloha, America.